What up guys, welcome back to the channel. If you haven't figured it out, we are in my lovely well-lit garage, which I'm sure you're all very jealous of. But today, we're gonna go over a few things that I plan on doing to the mountain bike this season, because unfortunately what I had planned for today isn't really gonna happen. I was waiting and I was waiting and I was waiting, and then it came in. I ordered brakes online from Chain Reaction Cycles, which is like in Never Never Land. So basically, I got shipped the wrong thing. It's in the process of being resolved, so I don't actually have brakes to put on my mountain bike, which is over here. I have rotors and tires and a few other things that I could put on it, but I think really what we're going to do is I'm going to go through how to do a flat repair on my single speed, because I need to change the tires over from what I was using, which were more of like a knobby tire early season, and then I switch out to a more road-worthy tire partway through. So we're gonna scratch the mountain bike for today. I am gonna show you guys the rotors, just give me like a second, because they are really cool and I feel like I should share that with you guys at least, so you kind of like have a little bit to go on. So I'm gonna get those. I'll be back with you guys in like 2 seconds. You guys ready for this? Because I sure am. This right here, that is one of my new rotors, okay? It's a 2-piece rotor, hence the 2 different colors of it. Basically, the center part is a little bit different in terms of its material as well as thickness. It's a lot thicker, a lot stiffer, and that really is going to help prevent the rotor itself from warping. On top of that, it uses Shimano's Ice Technologies. Keep calling it Ice Tech, but basically it's Ice Technologies, which helps keep the rotor cool under a lot of braking. So whenever I'm ripping down Mont Saint Sever or Bromont or Camp Fortune or Mont Saint Marie, wherever the heck I end up, my brakes, in theory, should stay cool when I'm a chicken and I ride them the whole way down the hill. Just kidding. Sometimes though, who knows, who knows. Anyways guys, enough about rotors. We're gonna go over how to do a flat repair. If you do ever encounter it, they suck, but if you're prepared, they're really not that bad. Let's get to it guys. Okay, so before we actually dive into how to do a flat repair, we're gonna go through the materials and tools that you do need in order to do one in the first place. You're gonna need something to take your wheel off of your bike. So if it's a quick release, you don't need a tool, but if it is a tool you're gonna need, it's probably gonna be a 15mm wrench. Now, if you've opted to do a security skewer of some sort, you're gonna need whatever tool it was that came with that to be able to get them off. Once you have it off, if your tire's not completely flat, you're gonna have to get rid of the rest of the air or a decent amount of it so that you can actually pull the tire off of the rim. That's when these guys come into play. These are just tire levers. We'll show you how to use those in just a second. There are lots and lots of tubes, so make sure you get the right one. There's different sizes and there's different valves. There's 2 types of valves mainly for bikes. There's a Presta valve and a Schrader valve. We don't have to get into that though. Basically one skinny, one looks like a car valve. So without further ado, let's get into how to actually do a flat repair. Okay, so here we are. My brakes are wide open and I'm ready to pop the wheel off. So basically in this case, I'm just gonna pull some of the air out because I don't actually have a flat. And this way the tire won't get in the way of the brakes, or the brakes won't get in the way of the tire on its way out. At least not entirely. So, now that I got my wheel off, this is where it gets fun if you don't really know what you're doing. But, that's what I'm here for. Okay, so now that you have your wheel off the bike, there's a few things you want to note. Where the valve is. It's an important one to remember, or at least in reference to where it is. So mine, for instance, has a sticker on the bottom of the wheel. It's directly opposite. So really easy to note when you are going to put it back together. It makes it easier just to reference. Now, in terms of taking your tires off, some of them are a lot easier than others. These, if I recall, are relatively easy to take off. So you're gonna grab a lever. You're going to put it under the bead here and pull off. Or pull away from it. Now, in the case that you have a tighter bead, what you're going to want to do is get one right in line with a spoke, pull here, and link it on. And once it's hooked on, that'll hold this portion of the bead off of the wheel, and it gives you enough room to slide another one in right beside it. And then, without breaking your tire levers like I just did, it should just pull right off. But I'm gonna keep using this broken one here and hopefully it'll come off as it is. Alright, so that's off and we're set. The other thing to keep in mind is tire levers do break, and that's a prime example of it. So make sure whenever you're going out somewhere that you have more than 2 of them. So 3 is really ideal. If you break 1, at least you have a backup. If you break 1 and you only have 2 and you end up needing one to keep the bead off of the wheel, you're kind of screwed unless you have a friend, which is helpful. But anyways, now that our tire is off of one side of the rim, we can pull the tube out, which we're going to start opposite of the valve, all in here somewhere. I'm just going to pull it right out. Depending on how long it's been in your tire, sometimes they are quite tricky to pull out. They get a little sticky. And that's out and free. So basically I started opposite the valve, pulled it out to the valve, and then pinched the tire back and pulled the valve straight out. Nice and simple. So once you've got that done, pull the tire right off, which you can do by pulling the other side of it towards the side that you just pulled off. So you can pull it right out of the rim, and then ta-da, you're all good to go. Then you're going to want to inspect the tire as well as the wheel to make sure that there is no physical damage or no debris or anything through your tire, because that's obviously going to screw up the rest of your ride if you only brought 1 tube and it goes flat again. So now in my case, I'm switching tires altogether. So I got a nice more roadworthy tire here. I'm gonna flip this on here pretty quickly. So basically the way I do it, there are multiple ways of doing a flat repair. I throw one side on and then put the tube in with basically enough air to take its shape, and then put it in and then push the bead of the tire back over the other side of the rim. But I'm gonna go fill my tube up with some air. I'll be right back. Okay, so really all I'm looking for is something like this. It's pretty droopy, but it still holds enough of its shape that it'll actually work. Now, in terms of putting everything back together, you can do it in reverse of how you took it apart. So we're gonna throw our valve in first, pull the tire over the tube, that way it's not gonna get in the way, and kind of stuff the tube in the tire all the way around. So now that you have it all in place somewhat, you will notice that there are bulges all around the wheel. So what you're gonna do now is kind of just push it and massage it in place. That way when you go to put the tire all in place again, the other side of the bead basically, you're not gonna pinch it, at least hopefully. So now it's a lot flatter, it's a lot more flush to the wheel. I'm gonna start with the valve in this case and push up and hold one thumb and kind of move the other one around it as you go. It basically, what'll happen if you start trying to move both of them, depending on the tire, is parts of it will start to come off. So you want to hold one part of it in place. I've gone fairly far down this side. I'm going to hold this side now and go down this side in the same kind of fashion. But now that about half of it's on, it should be pretty well in place and it shouldn't really want to come off, though it may still. These tires are pretty nice though, and really easy to get on and off of these wheels at least. So there we have it. That's how you do a flat repair really. And in my case, I just changed tires. I used the same tube, but you're effectively good to go. You pop it back on your bike and roll away. Thanks guys for watching. I hope this was helpful to some degree for some of you. I'll see you next week when we're going back to the kitchen. Just you wait. I hope you're ready for snack time.